Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and an update virtual interview with Mark Selby, the CEO of Canada Nickel, because the company brought out outstanding news in the last 2 weeks, which is really unbelievable. Share price did not fully appreciate so far, but we will talk about why it should be soon. Mark, good morning to Canada. How are you?
Good. Great to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you. And unfortunately, we have not seen us in London because I was not traveling there. But hopefully, maybe PDAC, we're gonna make it because we definitely should have one or the other gin tonic on your fantastic news. First of all, congratulations that you have demonstrated the carbon sequestration potential in the tailings from the Crawford Nickel sulfide project. I mean, I don't want to now look like only from the ESG side, but I think this is a significant breakthrough because it would bring your whole project not only to net zero emissions, you can even sell carbon credits in the future, right?
Yes, no, that's you nailed it. I mean, in today's environment, where people are desperate for low carbon sources of nickel, to have, the opportunity to not only be zero carbon, but get to a place where you'll actually have carbon credits available is truly amazing. And what makes this possible is twofold. So one is we're in an area where we have access to zero carbon hydroelectricity, and we have trucks and shovels available today that can take advantage of that. So we can have a very low, so already right out of the gate, we're in the lowest decile of the carbon curve already just with the mining operation as it sits. But the real upside with these types of nickel deposits that I don't think the market quite understands yet is the mineralization that makes up 90% of what we're mining is made up of minerals that, when exposed to air, spontaneously absorb CO2. And so, that's what we released a few weeks ago, was that our lab scale tests showed that, we could get as much as 17 kilos of CO2 per ton of tailings when we only need 4.5 to get to a net zero number for the project, and anything beyond that would be available for a sale as carbon credit. So again, it's a long way from lab scale up to full production scale, but we're very excited by the potential, and we think we really can get to net zero.
Okay, fantastic. So does that mean, just for my understanding, let's say we have a big tailings mountain, in the future, and then the CO2 really percolates through the mountain, and the rock is absorbing it and not giving it back to the air.
Yes, that's exactly it. So, the key though is it needs to have that exposure to the air, either and or CO2 dissolved in water. So what we're looking at are different ways to dispose of the tailings in a way that maximizes that CO2 pickup. So normally you wouldn't want tailings to be exposed to air because it releases bad things. In our case, our tailings are completely inert, and again, they have this property that they spontaneously absorb CO2. So, we're looking at ways of distributing those tailings to maximize that CO2 pickup, and it continues for a long period of time.
Wow, fantastic. I think that makes your project even much more valuable as it was already, to be honest, because ESG and carbon emissions are, I would say, not only the flavor of the month, this is the flavor of the century. And this is what is really needed also for the industry and for the climate, of course, right?
Oh, for sure. No, and most of the growth in nickel supply over the last 10 years has come from nickel pig iron in Indonesia, where they're generating 50 to 80 tons of CO2 per ton of nickel, and carbon credits right now in the EU are trading anywhere north of 50 to 60 euros per ton. So that adds up to a very substantial premium that might be available if you're able to deliver a zero carbon product relative to those producers.
Super. So that means also a lot of future revenue for that. But I think also, if I look at your numbers, which you brought out what was it, like 6 weeks ago, I think, that you achieved 62% nickel recovery and demonstrated, of course, substantial improvement. Also, the iron recovery, the magnetite concentrate is better, and the cobalt recovery is massively up. So I think despite all tasks and objectives you can do to bring down costs, when you can raise recovery, that's the best thing, isn't it? Because you need the same equipment.
Oh, for sure. No, I mean, you incur all the same costs, and any additional revenue, any additional recovery just drops right to the bottom line. So each percentage point improvement in recovery is worth $90 million of NPV. And again, remember our project PEA that came out last May was 1.2 billion. We were targeting 4 to 5 percentage point improvement for the feasibility study, which would be 350 to 450 million dollar NPV improvement. And so, as you said, in these tests, we got anywhere from 6 to 16% improvement. So, we think we might end up doing better. We sort of, counting on getting 4 to 5, but anything above that, again, is just going to fall right to the bottom line. So we were very, very excited by those results.
Fantastic. So what would be then the impact, let's say, of the iron recovery? 45%, that's 2 percentage points better. That is not so much for sure. But if we look at the cobalt recovery, this is now 70%. That's an improvement of 30 percentage points. That means 75% improvement.
Yeah.
What does that mean for the overall economics?
Oh, no, for sure. In the PEA, we assumed everything would be processed into stainless steel, but for the feasibility study, half the nickel will go into the EV chain and half the nickel will go into the stainless steel chain. Any of the nickel that goes to the EV chain will also get the cobalt paid for. So no, we've got 4 or 5 areas that we think are going to take the PEA value from that 1.2 billion to a much higher number for the feasibility study. And that's going to be another significant contributor to that big improvement. So no, we were extremely excited by that result.
Super. So when can we expect, let's say, an updated resource on the one hand and the feasibility study? What is your timeline?
Yeah, we're targeting the end of the first quarter for the resource update. That's coming around the corner. Assays have been challenging, as they are in many markets to date, but we're pushing hard to try and get the resource update for the end of the first quarter. And again, from there, it'll be about 6 months from there to the feasibility study coming out. So by this time next year, the feasibility study should come out. And again, that's just over 3 years after we started drilling hole 5 on the property. So I'm very happy with our team's aggressive push to get this to feasibility study so quickly, because again, we're big believers that nickel, today nickel prices are up on, to $9.50 a pound, up 4 or 5% in a day. And so, we think this is just the start, and it's going to get very exciting in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it looks like that we are in a new cycle. And to me, it looks like Canada Nickel is a little bit on warp speed. That's what it looks like.
Captain Kirk will be very happy.
Which is really cool. Yeah. It's perfect. And that's also one of the reasons why I'm a shareholder for sure in your company and will stay there. Because you brought out an additional announcement, I think it was like 1 or 2 days ago, 13 more properties. And you have all assembled together, you have consolidated, and it looks like this could be 40 times Crawford. I mean, isn't that a bit too much calculated?
No. I mean, to be honest, it was a 35-page press release. In my entire mining career,
I translated
other than the initial discovery. Sorry about that. Other than the initial discovery of Crawford, this is probably the most exciting news release that I've ever been involved with. So, again, Crawford's already the largest single nickel sulfide discovery since the early 1970s. If it was an operation today and fully ramped up, we'd be one of the 5 largest nickel sulfide operations. But the thing to remember with nickel is, sometimes you get one-off deposits. Boise's Bay and Nova Bollinger were one of those. But more often than not, because of the geological, what's necessary geologically to make them happen, they occur in clusters. So if you look in terms of nickel supply, just half a dozen regions contribute the vast amount of nickel production and the vast amount of nickel resources. So the east half of the island of Sulawesi, Sudbury, the Siberian region where Norilsk is, Jinchuan, and that's really it. And we think by the time we're exploring this land package that we put together, we think will look like Western Australia, where the 3 largest sulfide resources were all discovered within a few years of each other back in the late 60s, early 70s, and they're within 50 kilometers of each other. So we think we've identified these geophysical targets. We followed up on some historic drilling where they were drilling for other minerals and not really zeroing in on the nickel potential. And again, we really do think we've got the possibility of multiple Crawford. Some of these targets are even bigger than Crawford. And the great thing about Timmins is there's a ton of infrastructure in place. It's a community that very supports mining, and so we think we're in an excellent position to become the third generation of nickel supply. The thing I'm telling people, if you had a chance to buy Inco in the early 1900s when it figured out how to separate nickel from copper, which made the Sudbury resources that have been discovered 25 years early suddenly very economic, or if you had a chance to buy Tsingshan, if it was a publicly traded company back in 2005-06, again, they didn't make a new discovery. They just looked at resources that Inco had drilled off in the 1970s that people thought were too low grade and said, no, these are perfect for making stainless steel. Tsingshan 15 years later is now the world's largest stainless steel producer and the world's largest nickel producer. We think with the fact that we can do this all in a zero carbon way is going to set us up as the leader of the next generation of nickel with that kind of value potential, over the next 3 or 4 years.
So the natural question is, when will you be taken over? Because that's the future.
Well, yeah. Oh, no, we're going to push as hard as we can. And I think, if we don't get this value realized, we've already seen a bunch of activity in the nickel sector. Noront is the latest to go. We're going to push hard and as fast as we can. But the majors will want this kind of scale of resource that we've just put together. So the target just grew 5 times bigger after that announcement. So
that's for sure, absolutely. No, I mean, nickel is the future. Also, not only battery, metal, stainless steel, etc. You named it all, and there is not that much. That is for sure, and not that fantastic projects in such a safe jurisdiction. Also, so how is the drilling going now? You do infill drilling also. Let's say the drills are turning. What can we expect news-wise in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 months?
Yeah, so we've got 5 drills going right now. 2 of those are doing geotechnical drilling for the feasibility study. And the other ones are really focused on infilling the resource. We expect a 50 to 100% increase in resource that'll be used in the feasibility study. So again, one more significant value add that'll come from the PEA to the feasibility study. So you'll see, additional assays as they come. They've been going quite slowly, but as they come, we will provide additional information on that front. The second thing is we still have some additional metallurgical work, with the kind of release that we had, 5 or 6 weeks ago. We'll have a couple more of those over the next 6 months. And then, as we get into beyond the first quarter, we'll start to step out around. And again, we're not going to, blow our brains out drilling until our share price reflects our value for Crawford. But we will, do some wide space drilling to really highlight the potential of what some of these targets are. So you'll have a whole series of news flow around these targets, as we move forward over the next 12 months, and as well, delivering the feasibility study by this time next year.
Yeah, we really look forward to your feasibility study then, because then you can prove what you have.
Exactly.
Super. And Mark, thank you very much for that. And we keep fingers crossed for everything. Looks fantastic, your project. I know why I'm a shareholder in the company, and probably I should buy some more.
Make sure you buy sooner than later. No, thanks,
yeah. Okay, super. Mark, thank you very much. Merry Christmas. All the best. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mark Selby, the CEO of Canada Nickel. You heard it. What an outstanding project. One of the largest projects already in the world, but through the acquisition of additional 13 properties, I think it will be closer to probably the number 2 or 3 in the world, but in a super safe jurisdiction. We are talking about Canada. Great infrastructure and a lot of good things in the play. So I would really suggest have a look at Canada Nickel. Make sure you own some. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.